So in this video we are going to talk about four major things. First is the types of research questions. We will talk about that. Then we'll talk about the steps to develop your research questions. Then I will give you some of the templates that you can use to write your research questions, and then we will be reviewing some of the research questions where I will tell you what these lag and how you can improve them. A research question is that question which your study or your research aims to answer. That is the simplest definition. A clear research question aims your thesis or your research paper to define what exactly is the issue or the problem which you are trying to answer or look at through your studies and analysis or interpretations. Now, one of the things to consider is that your research questions are often grounded or based on your research. Now this means that while you are doing your research or while you are doing your literature review, or even while you are developing your framework, your research questions can change. Most of the research projects often focus only on one research question, but the larger projects can focus on multiple research questions also. Now the question comes on how many research questions do we need to have. When you are writing your master's or MSc thesis, it is good to have one or two research questions. While in the case of your PhD thesis, it is expected that you have at least 3 to 4 research questions. Now talking about the need of a research question. A strong research question defines your study. What are the aims of your study? What are the limitations of your study? And what are the expected outcomes of your study? These things can be derived from a strong research question. The second help the research question does is to break your research objective into smaller parts. Those smaller parts are which they are easily achievable and doable. Next thing, research question helps us to decide your research methodology, your sample size, your analysis techniques, and even the method of your data collection. There are multiple things that you need to take care while you're writing your research question. The first is that the answer of your research question should not be a yes or no. The second is that it should not be a number or a statistic. The third, you need to make sure that the answer to your research question should be multiples. There should be multiple answers to your research question. If your research question approves of these three conditions, then you can make sure that your research question is a good one. Now talking about the types of research questions. Types of research questions depends on the types of your research. If you're doing a qualitative research, you will have a different types of research questions. If you are doing a quantitative research, you will have a different types of research questions. And if you're doing a mixed study research, you will have a different type of research questions. So let's talk about the qualitative research. Now in qualitative research, you can have three types of research questions. First is the exploratory questions. Here the questions is to learn about the topic without thinking or influencing about the results. For example, how does nutrition affect the likelihood of acquiring cardiovascular disease? So here we are just thinking to learn about the topic but not mentioning about the research, about the results. Now another example of the same is that how can exercise impact the mental health of those who are depressed? The second type of research question is predictive questions. These form of questions are defined as survey questions that automatically predict the best possible answer based on the question. An example of this can be based on the person's lifestyle and family history. Can diabetes risk be predicted? So here we are just trying to find the best possible answer. Another example can be what factors can indicate whether a specific medical therapy will be successful. Now coming on to the third type of research question is the interceptive questions. These kind of studies in, in in these kind of studies we just want to find the feedback on the group's behavior without thinking about the outcome. For example, what physical and mental reactions do patients have right away upon receiving a procedure? How do people respond to various pain stimuli, and what coping methods do they employ? Now the type of research questions based on the quantitative research can be of three types: descriptive questions, comparative questions, and relationship based questions. Talking about the first one, descriptive questions, these kind of research questions are those which seeks to explain when, where, why, or how something has occurred. For example, in a specific population, what is the age distribution of those who have a particular genetic disorder? Here we are trying to understand what is happening and why is happening. The another example is what is the typical birth height and weight in a specific hospital over a specific period of time. Here you can mention the hospital name and time period as per your research objectives. Now, coming on to the second type of research questions, which are comparative research questions. These questions are beneficial to compare one occurrence with the others. Like we have one phenomena and then we have another phenomena. They both are happening at the same time. Now if we want to compare both of them, then we use comparative research questions. For example, what is the disparity in obesity prevalence between men and women in a given population? Another example can be in terms of survival rates. How effective are two distinct cancer treatments? So here we have two types of treatments that we wish to compare. They both are being done at the same time and we are comparing their survival rates or how effective these treatments are. The third type of quantitative research question is relationship based questions. These type of questions answer the influence of one variable on the other. For example, what relationship exists between the physical exercise and senior citizens' quality of life? Now we have one variable, that is the physical exercise. Then we have another thing called as the quality of life. We are trying to understand how these both are related. Another example can be, what impact does the use of specific medications have on the development of a specific chronic disease? The third type is our mixed method studies. Here we use both of them, the qualitative as well as quantitative, both of them to investigate a research question. One of the example can be, how do patients with certain chronic illness view their condition and course of treatment, and how do these views impact well on how they take their medications? Here we have a purely qualitative element, right? Now the second thing is, what is the relationship between illness progression and medication adherence, and what factors affect the medication adherence? So these type of research questions come in the mixed method studies. Now let's talk about the steps to develop a research question. First, we will talk about the theory of those steps, and then we will have a look at the practical example of these steps. So the first step is to choose your research topic. You need to make sure that the research topic that you have selected at this step should be of your interest. You can read various journals or informations to gather information on that topic and find out an element on which you wish to work to. Step 2 is to conduct a preliminary search. In this step, there are majorly two things that you need to take care of. First, you need to read relevant literature review papers so as to make sure that you are updated with the current trends, as well as you get the knowledge of what is happening in that research field. Second thing, while you are reading various research papers, you need to make sure that at the same time you are trying to identify various research gaps or limitations, cause these things will then help you to frame your research questions. Step 3 is to narrow down your broad research topic into a specific one so that you can identify your research questions from it. Now, in this step, when you have a good understanding of your topic, you can now start to look at the specific things, at the specific topics, to dive deep into them. Step 4 is to determine your audience. This step is very important because if you're not specific here, you will never be able to come to a specific research question. This audience can be ones to whom on you want to work on, the sample size or those kind of populations, as well as the audience of the journal where you want to publish your research paper. You need to make sure that whatever you are doing the work on, the audience actually wants to read it. It is useful for them. And the step 5 will be to review your research question. Now let's understand this whole process using a practical example. For example, in the step 1, you choose a topic of health and wellness, specifically focusing on the mental health. In the step 2, you will conduct your primary literature review or your preliminary research. Here you will read various kinds of literature, review the existing work. You may and let us suppose here you have found some of the studies which talk about the impact of social media on the mental health of the youth. Okay, but what you have found, that there are many less studies, there are many limited studies which talk about the positive impact of social media on mental health of the youth. So you have found out that this is your research gap. So your research gap is now positive effects of social media usage on mental health. Fine. Now, if you will narrow down, then in the step 3, we have to narrow down this research question. Okay. So the possible types of narrowing down can be: what is the positive impact of social media usage on mental health among young adults based on the age of 18 to 25. Now we have taken that positive impact, but we have specified an age group, so we have narrowed it down. Now the next thing, how does the content the youth consumes on social media creates an impact on their mind? This can also be a possible one. So now here we are trying to specify in the step 4, we are now trying to specify your audience. The audience is what? You are the social media users, especially the youth. Now in the step 5, we are going to review your research questions. So for example, you have taken the first one. What is the positive impact of social media usage on mental health among young adults aged 18 to 25? Now there are two major shortcomings in this. First, it it focuses on positive impacts only, first thing. The second thing, it focuses only on the mental health, not the other aspects. Okay, so there are two things. Okay, now if we kind of refine this research question, it then becomes: how does the social media usage influence the mental well-being of young adults of the age 18 to 25? So this becomes your final research question. So in the next part of this video, we will see some more examples on how you actually develop your research question. For example, you have started with an area of your interest being cyberbullying. Okay, so this is your research area. Now you have read the literature on this, you have read papers and all those things, and you specifically narrow it down to why is cyberbullying becoming more prevalent. So this is your narrowed research question. Now here if we see that it is not specific, it is becoming prevalent, we know, but it's not specific. The second thing is it's not measurable. It is becoming prevalent, fine, but what do you actually want to measure and why? You know, what factors you want to study, which area you want to go ahead, which population you want to go ahead. These things are not specified here, so we put them in this, and now we come across being: what are the social factors leading to the increase in prevalence of cyberbullying in young Indians? Now here we have focused on whom we want to study: young Indians. What factors are we considering? Social factors. So just by adding these two things, we have turned on our simple research question into a better one. Okay, now let's see another example. For example, you want to study about dogs getting killed in road accidents. Okay, this is a very broad topic है ना. Now you need to be specific, or you want to like ask this kind of a question like, why do dogs get killed in road accidents? So this is a question, but it is very broad, it's not specific, right? So what we do, we add a time frame to it. Why do dogs get killed in road accidents in the period of January to July? So we have specified it. But where are you going to study? Which part of the country? Which specific place? Okay. So we will add those things. Okay. Now, and we also want to know what factors are making this happen, है ना? So our refined research question now becomes, what are the various factors that occurred in that area? You can put your area name between the period of January to July that led to dogs getting killed in road accidents at some road name, some locality name. You can add all of them. So you started with a topic, a broad one, and somehow you come down to a specific research question. Now in the next part of this video, I am going to give you some templates which you can use to write your research questions. Now these templates are based on what kind of research you wish to do. For example, if you are doing a descriptive research where you are trying to describe something, right? So here the template that you can use to write your research question is, what is the level of concern? Right? For example, what is the level of concern among parents regarding the safety of their children at school? Right? So in this scenario, researcher is trying to describe the safety of concern that the parents have of their children at the school. Okay, so this is a descriptive type of research. For example, if you are working on a type of research where you are trying to form a connection, so here the templates that you can use is, what is the level, degree slash status of dependent or independent variables. Is there a significant relationship between independent and dependent variables? Does the independent variables predict, influence, impact the dependent variables? Or is there a significant difference in the level, degree, status on the dependent variable between group A and group B? Some of the possible examples of this template are, for example, a researcher wants to explore the relationship between exercise and stress level, right? So the possible research constants can be, what is the degree or relationship between exercise frequency and stress levels? Is there a significant relationship between exercise frequency and stress levels? The next type of use case scenario is when you are trying to evaluate something. So the type of templates that you can use here is, what is the status of program? What is the level of implementation of the program? What supplementary program can be developed to enhance the implementation? The possible research constants that were developed using these templates are shown on your screen. In the next part of this video, we will review some of the research questions and have a look on how we can improve them. So the first research question is, how did aspartame affect, aspartame is the name of a drug, post-menopausal women in 1980s who suffered from migraines? Now, if we have a look at this research question, it is very narrow. It is like the another thing is, very less women would have taken this specific medicine. So that is also an issue here. And among, if we are talking about a population, so less number of women would be in the stage of menopausal stage. So that is also one of the issue here. So we just try to refine this research question. So this drug is also used for migraines, right? So we have removed that year part, that menopausal part, because they are making it very specific, very narrow, and there is very less chance that we will have some kind of significant amount of data to do our research. So our refined research question now becomes, how does aspartame affect women who suffer from migraine? Here you can make it more narrow by including age group and by including area. That's on you. The next research question that we have to review is, does online writing advice have any effect on adult students? What adult students? Which age adult students? It's not mentioned. What kind of effect you are saying here? Nothing mentioned. Because here you see the answer is simple yes and no. Does online? Yes or no? We don't want that. So we will see, we are trying to talk about effects. It can either be a positive or negative. Let us say we are talking about positive only. Okay, so now our refined research question becomes, what positive effects does online writing advice have on adult students? Great. Now next research question to review is, do medications alleviate the symptoms of ADHD? Okay, who is the persons that you are going to study? They have not told it. Here again the answer is simply yes and no, and we don't want that. So we will talk about something that can give us multiple answers, right? So we'll say this something like that. How effective are medications in alleviating the symptoms of ADHD in students? Firstly, we have specified our audience, first thing. Then we have changed it from simple yes or no question to a specific one, right? So this brings us to the end of the video. I hope this would have been useful for you.